Welcome into an episode of Bleav in Kentucky alongside AG, Aaron Gershon, the Cat's Paws. My name is Vinny Hardy. AG, man, we saw a little physicality last night. We all this, this nasty toughness that they've been lacking. Look like they're starting to add that to their repertoire, man.
Yeah, I would argue that's their most important win of the season for that reason. You got to prove you can win multiple ways. And, something I said last year after they went and kind of grinded out Arkansas, it was important to see they could win a game like that. It helped them win a huge game at Auburn. And unfortunately for them, meant nothing come tournament time. But for this team, I think it'll be a different story in March just with the depth they have, with the way they're coached, their system, and all that. But two, it's a big confidence booster. I think Texas A&M, are they the best team in the SEC? No, especially not without Wade Taylor. I still think they're a top half of the league team with and without him, but they might be the most physical team in the SEC. You just look at the rebounding numbers. They're the number one offensive rebounding team in the country by a good margin, despite being in the 200s in size. So to be able to out physical them, win the battle on the glass by 10, out rebound them by 1, you hold, I Bleav Coleman, who's I think he's second or third in offensive rebounding in the SEC, off the offensive glass completely. Like that's a hell of an effort. And the shots, didn't really fall. They had a lot of open looks in that first half, and they started the game 1 for 11. They caught some heat there at the end of the first half with Jackson Robinson. They were hot early in the second half with Jackson Robinson and Travis Perry. But other than that, I think they finished like 9 for 27 or something like that from 3. So didn't even shoot the ball great. Another down night for Kobe Brea, 3 in a row for him. And, hopefully he can get back on track here against an Alabama team who's not the soundest defensively, but very, very encouraging effort to go out and out physical, maybe the most physical team in this loaded league.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will get to more of that in just a second. But yeah, as the Cats look forward to hosting Alabama this coming weekend. But we have a fellow Bleav Network host backstage. And look, go to Bleav.com and subscribe, got the YouTube channel. Follow us on X, TikTok, all the platforms. We got our link tree and their Twitter profile. This gentleman is the sports director for Wave News in Louisville. He hosts Bleav in the ACC. So I want to talk some ACC with him, but we'll get back to Kentucky as well because, look, there ain't nothing he can't talk about. Talking about our guy, Kendrick Haskins, Bleav in the ACC. Kendrick, man, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's always great to be able to do a crossover.
Yes, for sure. And I was hoping to try to get you before some of the games took place. The Governor's Cup, Louisville football, they snatched that and took it back to Louisville. Men's, women's basketball, Kentucky won that. I was hoping to get you on to kind of do that, but after the fact, those have already taken place. That's okay. We can still get some ACC talk in about the Cards, who are, let me just start right there.
Yeah.
Pat Kelsey just passed Kenny Payne in wins, right? 13-12. How they feeling over there?
Hang the banner for that.
Right. It cracks me up. It cracks me up about both fan bases. It's like every time they win, they have to mention the other coach. And I'm like, you know what? That dude's gone. Let's get over that. If you're U of L, get over Kenny Payne. If you're UK, get over Calipari.
They can both laugh at him now.
Yeah,
look at what's going on in Fayetteville.
Right,
they can laugh at his ass now.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's move on. I mean, the schools obviously have. Let's move on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, U of L is doing great without Kenny Payne. UK is doing great without John Calipari. We don't have to bring them up every time we win a game.
Yeah. Let them suffer out west.
Let them do what they do, and then be happy that Louisville is obviously the second best team in the ACC, and UK is right there in the mix in the toughest SEC conference we've ever seen. And so let's be happy about that. UK has won 5 games against top 25 opponents, more than anybody in the country. Let's be happy about that. Let's not worry about what John Calipari is losing in Arkansas. Let's just be happy with what Mark Pope's doing.
It is pretty funny though.
It's funny, but it's like
nah, I'm with you.
Like, okay, yes, you broke up with the hot girlfriend, but the girlfriend that you have right now, she's got a job. You know what I'm saying? She pays for dates. Y'all splitting dates. I mean, let's be happy with what we have right
No,
now.
I agree with you. I totally agree.
Now, what's the crowd's been like? Is it still what's the Yum Center been like? Are people just like wait and see? Pat, you got to show me, or
It was there for a while, especially after that Tennessee loss and a little bit after the Ole Miss loss. But they've been growing and growing, and but still, even with those losses, they were still growing because people believe in what he's doing. People believe in Kelsey's energy, and then when you see what they're doing, you see they're winning games. It's getting closer. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting closer and closer to what it was in 2012, 2013, with what the crowds were at the Yum Center. The lower bowl is filled up. You don't have to take tight shots with the cameras. you can take wide shots again, and you can see the people are in the lower bowl, and the upper bowl is getting there. It's not quite full yet, but it's getting there, and it's good to see. It's good to see that energy back in the KFC Yum Center.
Yeah, so this is why I wanted to hit some of this ACC stuff with you, man. And so you got that going on. You got Kelsey kind of restoring faith because he looks like he knows what he's doing and got a plan. And we love KP, but we just seen the complete opposite of that while he was there. So on the football side, Miller Moss coming in as quarterback? What else is happening for the Cards? And then we'll get to some other ACC stuff because you cover the whole thing. But
well, the
Miller
big thing
Moss,
is, I mean, prayers out to Miller Moss and his family because I mean they have family. They lost their family home out in California. He's a California kid, and so I mean them, and I'm sure other family members are dealing with all the fires out in California. So prayers out to them. But I mean, just on paper, with what Louisville has coming back, I mean they're going to be a contender for the ACC. I mean, because they got both of those running backs coming back, and so they're going to be a contender regardless of what else comes back. That offense, I mean, with Jeff Brom, that offense is going to be legit, and so they're going to be right there in the mix towards the end. And so, I mean, they very well could end up in the playoff because they looking at the landscape of the ACC. I mean, they were right there this year. I mean, they don't blow that game to Stanford when the dumbest loss.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that was the dumbest loss I've ever seen.
Yeah,
but if they don't blow that game, I mean, they're right there. I mean, they're competitive with everyone in the ACC. I mean, they lost at home to SMU. I think SMU is probably the cream of the crop in the ACC, especially going forward because SMU, now that they can do the stuff on the up and up.
Yep. They have a lot of money down there.
There's a lot of money down there.
Clemson decided to join the portal party, and they've added some pretty darn good players to a team that was good last year, too.
Yeah, welcome to 2022.
Yeah.
but I think right now going forward, just looking at it in January, it's going to be SMU, Clemson, and Louisville.
I agree.
And then Miami, since they spent a bunch of money to get the Georgia quarterback, which
not worth it.
Agreed. Miami's going to be Miami though.
Yeah,
but they're going to be back.
Yeah, if they get the 2023 Carson Beck, it'll be worth it. But I don't know. There's too much bad film for me.
I'm right there with you, brother. And like the thing is with the U, they're always back.
They're always
so that's the running joke on Bleav in the ACC. That the U is back everywhere.
Yeah. I might be more scared of Syracuse than Miami if they have a quarterback issue right now.
They have a quarterback,
but other than that,
Syracuse stuff. You don't want to go up into that terrible dome.
No,
they're good at home. On the road is where they get in trouble, but at home and that terrible dome. As someone who's been there way too many times, which is twice.
Hey, Fran Brown want to take a bath after every game too, so they don't want to be losing.
Oh,
I was up there.
He might be my favorite coach in the country right now.
I was up there for the Kentucky game when they lost to West Virginia, and like that dome is awful. It's Syracuse. Thank God they have dinosaur barbecue up there, because outside of that, whew, but that dinosaur barbecue is worth the trip.
Right. Hey, tell us a little bit about Bleav in the ACC too, because that's the show you host on the network. So tell us about it, what you'll talk about, who you're hosting with, and just give everybody that might not know a reason to come check you out.
It's super fun. It's me, Lloyd Spence, who's a buddy of mine. He's from Louisville, and so he's also very versed in everything in the area, because if you cover Louisville, if you in Louisville covering Louisville, you cover everything. And then we're on there with Heisman Trophy and national champion and former New York Knick and Houston Rocket point guard Charlie Ward. And Charlie is one of the funniest. He was one of the most unintentional funny people we've ever met. He's not trying to be funny. He's just being Charlie. But he's funny. He's super humble about everything. And he's great to have on the show, because he's just a dude. And it's like, for me, it's like the wildest thing, because we've been doing that show for 3 or 4 years now. And I grew up, as a kid who's probably about 4 years younger than Charlie. UK and U of L football wasn't it when I was a kid. And so my favorite player, college football player, was Charlie Ward, and after Deion Sanders. I don't know if you can see the jersey back there, but Deion was my first favorite player, and then Charlie, and like Charlie was like my guy. That was my guy. So to be doing a show with somebody that I looked up to as a kid, it's heaven every Thursday. We do the show every Thursday at 9:00 in the morning. Okay. And he's always there, and like he's funny, and I've gotten to know him a lot now. So Charlie is he's a basketball coach. He's a high school basketball coach for FSUS, which is basically the high school that feeds into Florida State, basically. And he won his first state championship, not this last season, but the season before that. And so he sent Lloyd and I the link to watch the game live. And I'm dying on every shot as if that's my kid, as if I'm the coach, and just to watch that. And he sent this T-shirt. I should have worn it. He sent us our T-shirts for their state championship game, and then their state championship, and like just to be able to like, yeah, I'm a friend with Charlie Ward. To me, it's like the greatest thing, because that was my guy growing up. And so to be legit friends with Charlie Ward is awesome. And the show, we have a good time. It's just, at the end of the day, I'm sure it's like that on y'all's show. It's just 3 dudes just kicking it.
Yeah.
Laughing at what's going on around the world.
Yeah, for sure. So y'all stop, since this is in y'all's conference. Belichick coming to Chapel Hill, and Coach
now.
I know it's yeah. And Coach Ham, I know it's gonna hurt Charlie. Coach Ham kind of getting in the little lawsuit situation, because that had to be big topics on the show. I'm assuming.
Yeah. We touched on Coach Ham, because that was last week.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so Charlie was and Charlie's kind of like, because he's still in the program, so he can't say too much. Yeah. But it's one of those things is where it's the NIL. That's the world we live in right now, and Coach Ham he's right there, but I'm sure he's not going to be the first or the last that has these suits, because there's no rules. So these schools are promising stuff that they may or may not come through on. And so I'm sure he's not the last that we're going to hear this from. But Coach Ham is, of course, he's a former UK guy, UK assistant coach. Yeah, and I wonder what's going on. It's in the state of Florida, because you see Larinaga, he pulled out of Miami, and it's kind of the same deal. And so I'm wondering if, like, the money down in Florida, they're like, we were promising this. We didn't get what we wanted last season, because Florida State wasn't as what we thought. Miami did not follow up what they did the season before that. I wonder if a lot of these people are like, okay, we put this money in, we didn't get the result. Now we're pulling it out. And now Coach Ham, Coach Larinaga, they're stuck with the bag when this was promised, and then what they want, what they thought they were going to get, they didn't get, so they're left holding the bag.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? This is a broad question, but what happened to the ACC in basketball that it's become what it's? I mean, it was honestly, it was the top basketball conference for
Yeah.
And this year, Louisville, to their credit, they're back, and they're probably going to finish second or third in the league, depending with Clemson. I know they own the tiebreaker. Other than Duke, Clemson, and Louisville, like no other team might make the tournament. Like what? Right. I know Miami fell off a cliff, but why do you think it is that such a proud basketball conference has just taken such a fall so quickly?
You lose Rick Pitino.
Yeah.
You lose Mike Krzyzewski.
No, they're pretty good though, dude.
they're good, but I mean,
yeah, no, they're not the same.
They're good now. They got Cooper Flag.
Last year,
yeah,
that was a fluky Elite Eight run last.
Right, you lose Roy Williams. I mean, you lose Tony Bennett coming into this season.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the coaches that are lost. So it's more of a rebuilding thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas the SEC, we saw it coming. We didn't realize it was going to be what it is now. But when they started hiring even going back to when Kentucky hired Calipari, and then Tennessee, their hires, and Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, and you start seeing them actually putting money into the basketball program and starting to do it. That's where the tide kind of shifted, and you can see it. You can see it coming with the SEC because of the coaches that they brought in. That you knew it was going to eventually be dominant.
Yep.
You didn't see everybody just jumping ship in the ACC, nope. and so that's part of it. It's kind of a rebuild thing going through the NIL, and so you got a lot of young coaches. I mean, Pat Kelsey's he's a young coach.
Sure.
Dude's my age. And then and Shire at Duke I think he's about the same age, maybe a little younger than me. And so it's basically it's the changing of the guard. You kind of in the in between stage. It's probably going to be down for a couple years, but it'll build back up as long as these universities are patient and give these guys time to develop a program. Because Georgia Tech, just picking them out of the air. They haven't been that great, and so they're
recruiting better though.
Yeah, they're recruiting better. So you got to give those coaches time. You got to be patient with the program. You got to be patient with what you're going to see. You're going to have losses. Same with Syracuse. I was watching that Syracuse game last night. They're bad. They're bad. And so, but they got to have to give him time.
Sure.
And I was watching it. It was funny when Louisville played North Carolina, when Louisville beat North Carolina, I was sitting there courtside and I was like looking at North Carolina's team and I was like, there's like two players out there that look like Carolina players and they're both guards.
Yep.
The rest of them.
Yeah.
I had the same epiphany. I saw him up in New York, covering the CBS Classic, and I think they might have pulled that out against UCLA.
They pulled that game out. Yeah,
but it was far from pretty, and it did not look like Carolina.
Just don't look like a North Carolina team. I was actually up there because we went up there and we watched it. We was up there for the Kentucky game.
Oh, nice!
But we were up there.
Nice.
It wasn't working, thank God. But yeah, North Carolina just does not look like a North Carolina team, and Louisville's kind of starting to look like a Louisville team, but like a lot of those teams just don't look like the teams that we grew up watching.
And so you're going to lose a RJ Davis. On that note, talking about
North Carolina. Finally.
You talk about these coaches and the changing of the guard and all this. They made that run to the title game. Hubert ruins Coach K's last game at Duke and all that, but outside of that is, and you got Roy Williams sitting courtside every game. That can't be
right
greatest. So
I equate that run. I equate Hubert Davis's run to Mike Davis's run at Indiana because it's like you're kind of stuck with them because they made that run, and we're seeing that now, and God love him, and he's a great guy because I knew him when he was at U of L. Kevin Keats at NC State, same deal.
Oh, yeah.
they were ready to cut the cord. Then all of a sudden he makes a tournament run. It's like you can't fire him now. Nope. And so they're kind of in that same boat.
Yeah.
And like especially with Hubert Davis as an alum, and he made a Final Four run. You can't cut that cord right now. But like just look, but they were ready to before he made that run. And so you look out there and you look at those players, and like the funniest thing was Jalen Withers, who of course was a former Card. We're right there courtside, and Jalen shoots a corner three, misses everything. And one of our colleagues, I'm not gonna name his name because he's on a different station, so I don't know if he wants me to say it, but he goes, "Well, some things don't change. Jalen Withers shooting bad shots in the Yum Center." So that's where we at. Because I like when Hubert picked him up, I was like, "What is he doing?" and he plays a lot. Yeah. I was like, that kid, he's a nice kid, but boy, he's not P4 caliber player.
And same thing like y'all were talking about when Joker Phillips you knew it was near the end with him at Kentucky, and then he beats Tennessee and ends that streak. They win. My dad, my sister
playing quarterback.
My dad, my sister, and I, we made a pact, like we're gonna go to every Kentucky Tennessee game until Kentucky finally wins. So we're there. We storm the field and walking to the
game. Yeah,
walking to the field, walking down there. I said to other people around me, I was like, well, y'all know this means another year Joker. and we're all like, yeah. And we go storm the field anyway. Because you can't fire him now because he just ended a 3-decade-long streak.
Exactly.
So you know it means another year. So yeah, that's kind of like you said, that's where Hubert is, just kind of stuck in this little purgatory right now.
And the same with NC State. I mean, I love Kevin Keats. He's a Patino disciple, and he was great when he was here. He was extremely nice to me when he was here. But yeah, they were right there ready to fire him, and then all of a sudden they make this tournament run last year. So and then you see what's happening this year.
Yeah, exactly. Well, before we let you go, man, I know. Look, we got Aaron double team right now as far as NFC East. So both you and I are Cowboys fans. So what are we gonna do?
I still have it the worst of all you all.
What are we gonna do with this hire and this?
You know what they're gonna do. It's gonna be Kellen Moore.
Yeah, I saw something. I maybe it was at NFL Radio. I was listening in the car the other day, and they said every Jerry Jones hire has either been someone he's worked with or he's close with. He's never gone outside the box.
Yes. Parcells is as far out of the box as he
which is, as a Giants fan, that's been a John Mara issue as well, more so at the GM spot. Joe Shane, who's not doing great, was the first the
last GM was my favorite GM that ever in the history of the Giants because he was spectacular.
Oh, Dave Gettleman. And that was the guy who was in the organization prior. Yeah.
Oh, I loved Gettleman because he was so bad.
So bad. Unfortunately, it hasn't got much better, but yeah.
So my boy Lloyd that I do Bleav in the ACC with, he's a big Giants fan too.
No, so he's
he's like weirdly optimistic about him, and so like it's fun making fun of him because he's like so optimistic about what they're doing.
Nope.
And I'm like, no, stop it. When they let Saquon go, he was like, oh yeah, we're building for the future. Rah, rah, rah. No, that's not what you're doing. You're being cheap. You're being the Bengals.
I've said it like 80 times on this show. Trade him if you're gonna get rid of him. Do not let him walk. He's gonna, and then of course.
Right, and I was with Dallas years ago when Jason Witten. I was like, because Dallas was kind of in a rebuild. Jason Witten was still productive. I'm like, you'll get something for him. Trade him. Nope, they keep him and let him retire and get nothing. and then now Dallas drives me crazy because they're fantastic. They're one of the best teams in the league when it comes to the draft.
Absolutely.
They draft fantastic. Soon as it comes to having to negotiate anything,
Oh.
they all become toddlers.
Yeah, and waiting to the last minute, tripping on ourselves.
Yes, and end up spending more money than they needed to.
Yeah,
So I'm to the point now. I don't get mad anymore.
Yeah, I'm not confident. I'm not mad, but I'm not confident at all.
Right, I'm gonna have zero confidence in whoever they're gonna hire because if it's Dion, I know what they're doing. It's the reality show of it. If it's Kellen, it's another Jerry guy that Jerry can control
and play cheaply, be cheap with,
right. And like they totally. Well, I'm like, why are we not raiding the Detroit Lions? I mean, what are we doing? The Detroit Lions, they've got an offensive and a defensive coordinator who are fantastic. Go after one of them. Nope. Nope. I'm going after somebody I know. And that's the Dallas way. And so Dallas won't win anything anytime soon. So
that's it.
Yes, it is what it is.
Absolutely. Well, man, Kendrick, we appreciate you taking time to hop on. Have a good episode in the morning with Lloyd and Charlie. Everybody check out Bleav in the ACC. Appreciate you coming over here, crossing over with us, and dropping some knowledge on the conference. And
definitely.
Cats with us, man.
Definitely. We got to do a home and home. We got to get you all on with us.
Hey, that'll work, man. Just holler at us anytime.
I will.
All right. Appreciate it, Kendrick.
I appreciate y'all.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Kendrick Haskins, Wave News Sports Director and host of Bleav in the ACC. Definitely wanted to get him on here. That was good stuff. Oh, we started off talking about the game last night, AG, and 2 physical teams in a row after the Georgia setback. And hey, what you see.
Yeah, you can't say enough about how quickly they've been able to turn things around in that aspect of the game. And it goes, and Mark Pope said it when I asked him about it last night. This team is very adaptable. They take learning and they take it personally. And Jackson Robinson had a quote last night where he heard that he's like, "Oh, they're calling us soft, and we're taking that personally." So, hey, whatever works. And it seems like that worked, whether we're hearing it from us and the media or the fans. Fine. Like if you want to use that motivation, please do. And just huge. And going back to, hold on, give me a second here. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah.
But the biggest thing outside of physicality, it's Jackson Robinson. This is the guy that you thought you were getting and then some. 27 against Mississippi State. He was going into that game. He was only shooting 29% from 3 on the year. And he goes 7 for 10. Carries them to a win. Ansley Almanor was amazing down the stretch too. And then last night, what did he shoot from 3 last night? He finished, I know he took a crap ton of shots. 5 for 13. So he goes from 29% on the season to 33 in 2 games. He's shooting the ball with confidence. He's not, you go look at his shot attempts per game from 3 and, he shot 11 against Colgate, a game he didn't shoot well. He shot 10 against Jackson State, but a lot of 5, 4, 6 threes. Like he never seemed fully confident, just letting it flow. 5 against Georgia. And, he's filling them up. He's going out and playing defense at a high level, which I think he's done for the most of the year. Mm-hmm. And, season high 8 rebounds. He's totally engaged. And the most encouraging thing with it is, and we called it out on this show last week, and it's been an issue all year, but he'll miss a shot or 2 early, and then he'll look completely disinterested in the rest of the game. That last night he goes out there and he jacks up 3 threes early and he misses all 3, and you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
No, the dude kept you could tell just from where we're sitting all the way now in section 235 that he had his complete and utter composure. Body language was great. Didn't seem rattled at all. He just kept filling them up and they started to fall. And if he's going to play like that and have that mindset the rest of the year, he's not going to go score 20 every night unless he's the next Antonio Reeves, which that'd be fantastic. Mm-hmm. But really, really encouraging stuff from Jax. I can't say enough about how quick of a turnaround he's had. And then the physicality, man. Amari Williams, there was some silly stuff about it. Look, he had his issues. And But I always thought he was physical. I thought it was more so adjusting to the SEC and this level of basketball. I mean, Drexel, the CAA, they're one of the worst mid-major conferences out of them all. And, it took some time. I never thought it was a lack of effort from him. And he's had some big boy performances the last couple games, and they've gotten timely stuff. The other thing too that I was worried about with this team, and we saw it against Clemson and Ohio State too, is like outside of Kobe Brea, who obviously they need to get him back on track, but outside of Kobe Brea, who else is giving you anything off the bench? And the last 2 games, Ansley Almanor stepped up, Travis Perry stepped up in a big way. Almanor still scored 6 last night. I know it was a quieter 6, but he did some more good stuff last night. And you'll eventually get Kirk Carissa back in there, you would think. And Kobe will get going again. Brennan Garrison, you're getting at least something from him every night. So you like where the depth is at, assuming Lamont Butler's healthy. I mean, that guy, what a warrior he is. He took a beating last night, and he just kept getting back up and getting back up. So that to me, was that the best team they beat this year? Absolutely not. I'd say Duke is at this point. Look at the way they're playing. I'd say Duke is probably the best team they've beat. Maybe even put Florida. I know they lost last night. I'd still think Florida's a better team than A&M probably. But I know for a fact A&M is the most physical team they've played, and they might be the most physical team in the entire country, like behind maybe like an Iowa State, who I was watching tonight, just roughhouse Kansas. So, and obviously the way Houston plays. Yeah. Tennessee, outside of those cup teams, like I don't see many others more physical than A&M. So great. They've definitely passed the eye test the last 2 games. And, going into this Alabama game, it's kind of a matchup you like better from the standpoint of Alabama is going to, they're going to shoot really well. They're going to put up a ton of threes. They're going to run. They run even faster than you. They're number 2 in the country in tempo, but they give up they're in the 300s in points allowed. And, they have some good rim protection. They're a top rebounding team. So it's going to be physical from that standpoint. But, they're going to let you play the way you want to play. And the fact it's at Rupp Arena, I mean, I always kind of thought this would be a split with Alabama. Win the home one, lose the one down there. We'll see what happens, Saturday, see if I'm right or not. But I like the way things are trending for Kentucky right now. I think they're far from their peak because they still have improvements to make on the defensive end, still guarding the perimeter. Their 3-point percentage defense is pretty good. I still think there's some open looks they're giving up that have to be cleaned up. They're still getting beat on some straight line drives, but overall I like the direction they're heading. They're trending in the right direction where, I think for part of December and maybe a little bit, the first 2 SEC games, I thought maybe it was the other way. So very encouraging last 2 games, to say the least.
Yeah. You mentioned Jax when you first started talking, and how he didn't quit shooting after, like you said, he got off to the cold start. And
right.
Normally, like you said, his body language and his confidence and the shoulders go down. I flash back to the Mississippi State game, which when we saw him put together a good game again. But what I worried about him is when Matthews took him baseline and yammed on him. And I thought, okay, now he's gonna kind of wither, because that was embarrassing, because that was like, sometimes you just got to tip your cap, and that was a unbelievable play.
Yeah, Cam Matthews was a monster in that game, monster.
As wild as we went about Oweh dunking on Payne last night,
yeah, that was right up there.
Matthews on Jackson, I thought, well, this is gonna ruin him and break him and make him go back.
Yeah, hard not to think that.
And he didn't. He kept playing through that, and I was like, great. And I think was it last night, he was trying to come off a screen. There was a foul that got called. The play got stopped, but the ball was coming to him, and he was, when the whistle blew, he was like jumping up and down, frustrated because the play was stopped. So that told me he was about to get it. He was going to shoot it, and he was confident. And so he's kind of broken through the little rough patch he was going through, mentally, all of that. And we heard Mark Pope. talk about, like you said, he's done well defensively all year. He's talked about all the other things he's done. Everybody, we're not in practice, so we were looking at, well, is the dude ever gonna kind of get some buckets? He showed up and played point in the Gonzaga game and made plays down the stretch there, but everybody was kind of, I don't know if he can be that dude or not, and we aren't in practice. They probably could see signs that he's gonna break out here in a game or two or three, and here we are. And now, like you said, get Kobe back right, but you got Jackson right now, and then you can kind of, it's like dudes at the circus. You got to keep the plate spinning. You got to go from one to the other, and this plate starts to wobble. You got to go run, and we've all seen that, and that's kind of what that's what it is, and kind of maintaining the team and getting everybody clicking on all cylinders. But they weren't physical a few weeks ago. They're getting punched in the mouth at Clemson and Georgia and teams, and you thought they're going to lose to every tough team they play, and then they respond by beating Mississippi State and Texas A&M back to back. So now we get a team that likes to run and gun. We know they're comfortable with that. You get them at home, and hey, it's like you said, the ceiling is high, but it keeps continuing to go high. And you keep hearing Mark Pope say, we got so much work to do, so much improvements that we can make. And that they're detail-oriented enough that they're going to address all these things that they're trying to work on, which we couldn't always feel confident that was taking place.
No, you couldn't, unfortunately. And you're seeing the results of that now. But yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with everything you said. And I think another moment in that was, I'm trying to think the Mississippi State game with Jax is I think it was from, I don't know what point in the second half to like the very end of the game. He didn't shoot a three for like 15 minutes. And you're like, oh, maybe he's going to get disengaged again. What does he do? He hits that jumper, the midi that wins the game. Yes. That puts it on ice. So just a lot to like there. And again, I go back to, yes, the preparation, the focus from the players to adjust what needs to be adjusted. And, again, they were able to overcome this, I'm not going to say overcome, but they were able to, because I just want to see a little bit more, but they were able to make clear and vast improvement in their physicality in 2 games, one game actually. And they did almost a 180 in a week. So the fact that they're able, and we've seen them get off the mat every time, right? They lose to Clemson. It looks like it's going to be the same game, and they fought back and beat Gonzaga shorthanded. The Ohio State game, they got to ease out of it a little bit. They play Brown, but then they go and they get a top 6 win at the time against Florida. And then this one, they get bullied by Georgia. And at the time it looked kind of embarrassing with Georgia not being a ranked team. And, they got beat up pretty good by Ole Miss in their first SEC game. Ole Miss looks pretty damn good now, by the way. But, they've responded in the best way possible. So, adversity is going to strike again. And then we're going to have the new questions. But I think for the first 3 losses, the blueprint, all the losses to me felt the same. They were just manhandled. They were run off the 3-point line, and they could not rebound and do what they needed to physically. Last night, they did get run off the 3-point line, and they still got some good looks and made some threes. They were able to out-rebound the best offensive rebounding team in the country and 7th best overall rebounding team in the country. So that tells me, okay, they've made that adjustment. So now, say hypothetically they lose to Alabama this weekend, or they lose at Vandy in their next game after that. I feel like it'll be a different type of loss, and then you're gonna have to adjust and keep grinding from there. But I like the direction things are heading, and like you said, I never feel like this team's not prepared. I definitely have seen like they try to do too much or maybe get a little bit disengaged, but not the last 2 games. They've been fully engaged, they've been fully prepared, and they've executed. So, kudos to them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You had was it Robinson, was clearly wanting to stick it to A&M with all
He wouldn't comment on what it was. I know there's bad blood. Well, there was bad. I don't know. We'll see what it. There's just going to be bad blood in that Arkansas game, but I know specifically he had bad blood with Eric Musselman, which you could tell. They're very different personalities, and they butted heads quite a bit, and it didn't work out for him in Fayetteville. But I didn't hear of anything. Buzz Williams, he seems just like a genuinely good dude, and I know he's intense, he's fiery, he's kind of corny, but he does seem like a genuinely good person. He's a very good coach. And he's only, I went back and listened to when he was asked about him down at SEC Media Days before the season, his press conference before this game. He's been nothing but unbelievably complimentary of Jackson Robinson. So I don't know if it was just because he didn't really get much playing time. It was the COVID year. I don't know. I don't know what happened down there in College Station. Jackson Robinson sure as heck wasn't going to tell us, which is within his rights, of course, 100%. He wasn't going to say anything after that game about what is or what isn't wrong with him and A&M, whatever. But it definitely felt personal. There's no doubt about that. So, whatever it was, whyever that is the case, that one definitely felt extra good for number 2.
Yeah. So looking forward to Saturday, and we'll, like you said, just keep it rolling. It's fun. You have confidence in products that the staff is putting on the floor. And,
no doubt.
I think it's you can't help but look at what's going on in Fayetteville, and of course that game is coming up February 1st.
And, 2 weeks from Saturday.
Yeah, and
it's the next home game after this one.
Yeah. It's going worse than I think even. I mean, I didn't expect.
No, I didn't. Look, I didn't. So I didn't think they were going to be great. I just thought it was the coaching staff for me was my biggest thing. Like, I don't know. I've heard things, I've confirmed things. That coaching staff was not what you want. So let's just put it that way. I think Chuck Martin, I think, is a really good dude and good coach. I understand totally giving Kenny Payne that opportunity, but the rest of them haven't heard much good. And so he brings in Coleman, Brad, I don't know, whatever. He brings Brad with him, brings Bruiser Flint with him. So you're expecting the same results for something that hasn't worked. Your best assistant of anyone on the staff last year goes to Fresno State and John Welch. So you don't have that offensive guru with you. You're going back to your old offense, your old stubborn, outdated offense. And that's been on full display because as I've said many times on here, my brother goes to FAU. I've watched almost all of Nelly Davis's games the last 2 years. This is not Nelly Davis. This is not the dude he is. And he's not being given the full opportunity he needs to flourish. They're not running stuff that he needs run for him. He's a very good isolation player. He's not getting those opportunities. So that I think is a lot on the coaching staff and the offense. And then, the roster construction from that standpoint, obviously you did a little better with veterans, but still, I mean, you're relying heavily on 3 or 4 freshmen. I think it's 3 freshmen. Boogie's having a nice year, but he's, having his growing pains, and he's a guy that they're kind of making their go-to guy from the guard position, and that's hard to do as a freshman. Adu's having a really nice year, but I'm not sure that's the guy you want to be your best player. I think it's really important to have an elite guard at all times, and they don't have that. DJ hasn't taken a big jump. He's done it. He's really having the same year where he has games where it's like, oh, that's the DJ Wagner that was 5-star at one point, number 1 player in the country. And then there's like, what the hell is this? Yeah. And then, Jonas Adu has been better lately, but hasn't quite been what he was at Tennessee. Was injured earlier in the year. And, that's pretty much all they've got. Big Z's doing nothing, not playing.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's hard to feel that. I don't have that much sympathy in the sense that I would have had sympathy if he went out there, because I think it was right for him to take that job. It was best for everyone to move on. If he went out there, changed everything up, and it still didn't work. then I would have had some sympathy.
Right.
But the fact he just picked it up, he said, we're just moving headquarters and Cal University, whatever. I can't feel bad for that. And they lost to LSU, who credit to, in all seriousness, like Damian Collins, seeing him having a nice year and play really well in that game was cool.
Yeah.
Obviously that kid's been through hell and back, and it's good to see him have a nice season and have the game he had. I'm sure that felt really good last night. But LSU is probably the second worst team in the conference besides South Carolina. South Carolina had 25 turnovers tonight. I watched that game against Vandy.
It was still a close game.
Yeah. Vandy won with 0.6 seconds left on a tip-in. So literally, Vandy's. I think honestly, the fact that I thought Arkansas would kind of be where like Georgia, Oklahoma tier, Texas tier, like that third tier in the league. I didn't think they'd be in the fourth tier, and they're in the fourth. They're in that fourth bottom tier. They're with LSU, Vandy, and South Carolina, and that's crazy for a Cal team. That's just unacceptable. And
it's the honeymoon's over. The honeymoon's already over.
And like the Arkansas fans being like, "Oh, well, you didn't tell us it'd be this bad." They're right with that. But I think with a lot of, at least what I saw, and there are probably people who went overboard with it and said they'll never win another game and whatever. But at least what I saw a lot of fans saying is like, you just don't understand. Like the game has passed him by in the sense the offense is archaic. The roster construction is going to be very stubborn. There's not going to be much of a difference even with the NIL money. And they didn't want to hear it. And that's kind of exactly what happened. So to an extent, it is I told you so. To an extent, it's not. It's somewhere in the middle. But I definitely rather be Kentucky than Arkansas right now.
Absolutely.
Then again, I do think Arkansas will play their best game this season when they come in here.
Yeah.
I think they will fight like hell in that game, and that's the game's going to be personal to Adu Thiero. It's going to be personal to. I don't know if it'll be personal to Big Z just because of the year he's kind of had, but it'll be personal to Wagner, Boogie Flan, Knox, Richmond. So, I still expect that to be a war, but I don't think Arkansas is going anywhere this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, man, we covered quite a bit. We have to get some football portal updates and some coming episodes, before spring practice rolls around.
Yep.
But we'll see what happens against the Tide on Saturday. Hey, it's 12 o'clock instead of 11.
Oh, I love it.
A whole extra hour. So
yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. A whole extra hour, but I love it. I kind of like the noon start for Saturday. I'm all for it. So let's have some fun. That'll be a really, really fun, high-scoring game, I would think.
Absolutely. Look, y'all like and subscribe and go to Bleav.com, BLEAV. We got shirts on there, Cat Daddy shirts, Everest Eddyville shirts. Check out the merch and tell your friends about us. And look, tune in next week. We'll be back for Aaron Gershon of the Cat's Paws. Check him out, all his work there at the Cat's Paws too. And check us out each and every episode here at Bleav.com. That episode of Bleav Kentucky. Go Cats. We'll holler at y'all next time.